our coverage of the COVID-19 outbreak, the Children's Aid Foundation of Canada is now launching an emergency COVID-19 appeal on behalf of youths who used to be in foster care and who now need urgent help. Joining us live is Valerie McMurtry, the president and CEO of the Children's Aid Foundation. Valerie, thank you for your time this morning. I'll start by asking you just how vulnerable this group is right now.
Well, thank you very much for the time to tell you about this population. Pre-pandemic, youth who aged out of government care were already amongst the most vulnerable youth in this country. High risks of unemployment, high risks of mental health challenges. They fill our youth homeless shelters across this country. Because of the pandemic, things have they're just spiraling into a much more difficult and urgent, tragic, potentially, situation for youth.
And why are they considered high risk?
Well, when they turn 18 in most provinces, and definitely in Ontario, they're considered adults and they're expected to age out of the government system. That means they've got to figure out how to live independently, figure out how to find a job, all of the adult responsibilities that come with growing up. And really none of them are ready, and they have no built-in family supports to turn to. So they're quite isolated. And isolation is what's required during this pandemic, and that's actually, probably one of the worst things that our youth will experience is that feeling of isolation with nobody there to support them.
Of course. Are you able to give us a sense of how big this population is? How many people we're talking about here?
Well, every year in Canada, there's a new graduating class, as they would say, of about 2,300. Our foundation, we feel we're uniquely positioned to jump in on this issue. We're in touch directly through programs that we've already provided to youth in the past, to 5,000 young people in every part of Canada, and very many of them are right here in Ontario. So we know that we're hearing frontline from these young people every day. We're getting incoming calls for the support and questions about what we can do, and people looking for resources. So in the immediate term, we've launched a $5 million emergency support fund for the aged out youth, and we're trying to do everything we can to get that money in, because we're set up right now to distribute that fund, those resources on an emergency basis directly to over 5,000 youth in the country.
So your foundation is launching this appeal to try and get, as you said, about $5 million. Can you speak to how that money will help people who are especially vulnerable in times like right now?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's just so many needs. The immediate requests we're receiving from our young people have to do with food. Last night I heard from a young person who had only $30 left in her bank account, and she wasn't able to access it because she's been frozen out of her account. So that was to provide food for the rest of her week. So we know food is an urgent need. We know that their mental health supports are huge. We're trying to connect more youth to virtual resources for their mental health supports. And of course, the big one is rent. We know that the governments are doing everything they can to help make sure that vulnerable people have roofs over their heads as of April 1. But we have a lot of people in our network who are extremely panicked about their housing stability.
All right. Valerie McMurtry, the president and CEO of the Children's Aid Foundation, joining us live this morning. Thank you, Valerie, for your time.
I appreciate it. I hope our listeners will take a look at our website at cafbn.org. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Valerie.